I love you. Well, gobble gobble mother cluckers, and welcome back to Green and Faceless on the Couch. I'm the Green Traveler.
Gibble, gobble, gobble trouble. I am the Faceless Leon. I feel like we've done that before.
I did mumble, toil, and trumble.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was for the one of the Halloween episodes.
Yeah, but this is a Thanksgiving special, so gobble gobble mother cluckers.
Mother cluckers.
No pun wasted here.
But yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We hope that you're at home enjoying stuff with your family. We understand that the pandemic might keep some people from doing that.
We're finally free from their dysfunction.
Yeah. So, and we're going to be talking about some dysfunction here today. This is a podcast about movies and TV. And I did already mention the pandemic. Sometimes we do mention everyday events, but that's not our focus. We're about to talk about movies. What are we talking about today on this, our Thanksgiving special?
Well, we are talking about 3 movies about Thanksgiving. Wow. We're talking Home for the Holidays, which is a personal family tradition of my family to watch that every Thanksgiving. Yeah, Krisha on Netflix, and John Hughes, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Classic movie. So we got 2 classics and 1 newbie. This is not the focus of a terrible amount of movies. Like, sometimes you'll have a movie that like spans the whole holiday season. Yeah,
there's a lot that love Christmas. They love that Christmas time. But Thanksgiving's kind of just football time.
It's football time, and there is some football in these movies, but that's not typically the focus.
No, not at all. No, I think all 3 of these movies do a great job at capturing the dysfunction that's felt around the holidays.
Right.
Because every family doesn't really mesh well together. There's always going to be a family people in the family that you just kind of get under your skin.
Definitely.
And this movie does a great job.
Yeah, all 3 of these movies have characters like that, I'll say. Because Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, it's kind of more of a wider lens of the dysfunction of like America during the holiday season.
That's true. Yeah, that one's not really about the family part.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
it is family elements, but the dysfunction is definitely not family.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of dysfunction.
Which one do we want to talk about first?
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles came out first, so I guess we could do that.
Yeah, it's always easiest.
Yeah. I could start if you want.
Dive for it.
Okay. So, Planes, Trains, Automobiles. Steve Martin. I don't remember his character's name.
Neil Page.
Neil Page. Yes. He is trying to get home for the holidays. He had some kind of meeting, but he'll never make the 6. No. But anyhow.
Especially when Kevin Bacon steals his taxi.
Yeah, when Kevin Bacon steals his taxi.
Dude,
I saw that. I was like,
that moment was magical.
He's not in this movie other than that.
No, it's just that I don't know if he was still I don't remember Kevin Bacon's timeline for his life, but I don't know if he was like super taken off at this point. Yeah, but it was a fucking magical moment. Like, it's so beautiful.
Was this? Yeah, this is 87, so I don't know.
87, yeah. But it's so wonderful because they're on different sides of the street.
Yeah.
They hail a taxi that parks like a mile away from them, and then they both just dodge through crowded sidewalks just to get to one taxi.
Oh my God, Steve Martin almost gets ran over so many times in this movie.
Yeah. Because he trips a lot in the traffic.
Yes, he does.
Guy needs to watch his footing.
Desperate to get home. And somebody else succeeds in stealing his taxi, and that is Del Griffith, played by John Candy.
Beautiful John Candy.
Yeah, John Candy he's one of my favorites.
Uncle Buck was a childhood favorite.
Yeah, we liked The Great Outdoors. I think we rewound and slow motion played the bear getting its ass fur shot off until the VHS burnt a hole through it.
Wasn't he also in Cool Runnings?
Yeah, he was the coach in Cool Runnings. Yeah. I love John Candy. He does
do a Jamaican. He does have a Jamaican line. He does, this movie.
But I'm sure this is way before that. I'm pretty sure that was a late 90s movie, but I could be wrong. But anyways, both great comedians, and their chemistry is amazing, and they end up trying to get home together because they're both from Chicago, and lots of shenanigans happen. Neil gets really fed up with Dale and tries to leave on several occasions. But they just keep on running into each other.
Yeah, I was reading the wiki on this, and they call it an Odyssey, and it is 100% an Odyssey.
Yes, yes, there is so many chapters in this, just like the Odyssey. It's this movie, lots of fun. I'll say up front, I've always enjoyed watching this movie.
Yeah, I honestly, this is the first time I've watched it. I'm a huge John Hughes fan, but I've always loved his teen stuff. Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller. 16 Candles. But like the only thing outside of his teen comedies that I've gone was like National Lampoons. So, I don't know. I also wasn't like a huge fan of Steve Martin when I was a kid.
He seemed so right when like we were coming about all the stuff he was doing, his comedy like completely shifted. Because when he started out, he was extremely high energy and absurd. But then he kind of turned into the straight, dry comedian. And as I have aged, I have enjoyed it more, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. Especially once I discovered his music. Like, I really love his music is great.
Great banjo player.
Banjo. I was trying to remember the instrument he plays. Even here with John Candy, Steve Martin's chemistry, as you said, is phenomenal.
It's great.
Yeah, they filmed this whole thing. I looked up specifically how long it took each of these films to be shot. And Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was filmed in 85 days. So it's like 2.5 months, roughly. Or a little, just under 3 months. But, it is the longest it took to film out of the 3 movies.
Huh.
But it does have a higher production, quality.
A lot of locations. And I'm sure there is a lot of shenanigans that ended up on the cutting room floor.
Well, they had to fit all that heart in.
Right, yeah. I think it's pretty obvious that we both really enjoy this movie.
It's a lot of fun. It's got good blend of comedy and emotion.
You're messing with the wrong guy! There's this musical number that keeps on reappearing, which just has Steve Martin yelling over it in multiple locations. It's an awful song, but every time...
I don't know. I actually loved it. I don't know if it was awful.
Well, no, I love it too, but I
feel like I would listen to it. Drive into work.
It makes me
blaring that
for sure.
That music, we should say, is by Ira Newhorn. Did a lot of John Hughes scores for most of his movies.
Well, like this particular song, it's got record scratching in it, which was like just like I feel like just getting into like main media at the time, and it's just so juxtaposed with Steve Martin, super white guy, yelling at the world.
Oh my god. Yeah, that was actually one of my biggest fears when I watched this, is I could see myself becoming either of these characters.
Yes.
Because they portrayed like all of my negative qualities so well.
Oh man.
It's like with Del Griffith, I'm always like, typically I'm either very talky or very obsessive. you know, he gets into your skin like at times, you know, and I can definitely do that, and I don't like that I do that. You know, it's one thing that I got back off from. And with Steve Martin, he's a very impatient, wound up, you know, very stressed guy.
Yeah. Dale calls
and I'm already that way.
Dell calls him an intolerant person, which, I mean, after a while, I mean, they grow together in this film.
Yeah. I mean, that's what makes it great is, right. You know, it's they start off with all these negative qualities, but together they work through them and kind of become friends despite their initial reactions to each other.
Exactly.
So it gives me hope.
Yeah.
But watching it makes me really scared because I'm just like, oh no, I could be. It's just like one event away from becoming both of these gentlemen here.
I feel the same way about these characters with myself, but I think you're perfect, Greg. So there.
Oh, hey, you got flaws, but you're doing pretty great.
Oh, thanks. This Thanksgiving, I'm thankful for my best buddy, the Green Traveler. He's great.
I'm thankful for you, man.
Aw, damn. And in this movie, these two guys that just Dell kind of almost immediately likes Neil, but Neil cannot stand him. And eventually,
Dell just likes everybody, really.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. But at the end, they both love each other, and that's a great theme. A great ending to a Thanksgiving film, I think.
It does kind of make you. I mean, it doesn't make you choke up too much. You know, it's like there's, you know, I think John Hughes has delivered better emotional depth in other films.
Sure.
But it is still a very fun and emotional film.
He just wants to get home to his family.
He does. I mean, he's also an asshole, but still.
Yeah. But from meeting Dell, he gets, what kind of a nickname? What is Dell a nickname for? Like Delbert?
Del Taco.
Del Taco? Okay.
Sponsor us.
But anyhow, from meeting Dell, he becomes a better, nicer person in the long run of the movie. But there is a lot of shenanigans. Yeah, we hope, I suppose. But
yeah, it's one of those films that you have to realize it's over the course of 3 days. Once he goes back to work, he's going to become the same stuck-up, wound, stressed asshole.
I don't think he's going to get Dell out of his life. I think
it's true. He does have that redeeming factor in there. Mm-hmm. Well, Dell's found a new family.
That's right. Yeah, I love it.
That's all he does in this movie is just come across more people that he could just involve in his life.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like Dell has all these fucking friends. Like all over the country.
That's the one thing I do. It's like even though I do see my negative qualities in Dell, I also see that quality that I want to be, where it's like I just want to know people like spread out throughout the country. Right. You know, I just want to be able to have those stories.
Yeah,
because it's like I like to consider myself a storyteller. I write short stories and novels.
Yeah, he's got what I would call a sloppy charisma.
Yeah,
yeah,
and he is also a very sloppy individual too.
Yes, definitely.
The state of his bathroom, like it makes for a funny scene. There's a moment where they're. Steve Martin and John Candy are sharing a room together at an inn. And, you know, Steve Martin goes to the bathroom to take a shower. And when he gets out, he sees the state of it that Candy's left it in. And it's hilarious, but at the same time, how did he get in the shower with not noticing the state of that room?
Right, yeah. Or did John go in there while he was showering, and use all the towels?
It's like I didn't get it. And then I mean, it's not a big thing. They didn't have to show this, but then like the very next scene, they're going to sleep, and they mentioned that he spilled beer all over the bed, and they didn't show that. They didn't have to show it really, but like at the same time, I was like, I feel like there was a funny skit there.
Yeah, there might have been a scene that like I said was cut. But like they definitely show him put the quarter in the bed, which starts shaking the bed. And then the next thing you hear about it is that it made the beers explode.
Yeah. And I feel like it would have just been kind of funny to just watch John Candy have a beer explode all over him and just, turn it into an even more exaggerated comedic bit.
Definitely.
I mean, it's the same thing with the cigarette later. He tosses the cigarette out the window of the car and it knocks it back into the back seat.
Yeah.
And, most movies, and I actually respected it here, most movies would show you repeatedly,
right,
to remind you that the cigarette was back there. They don't. They show it fall back there. And then, 5 minutes later, the inevitable happens, and it's not like, what happened? How'd this come about? It's
right.
like, no, they showed it, didn't have to come back to it. I actually respected it there.
That's right. I honestly really love that bit leading up to that, where he's just mock playing the piano to Ray Charles and swerving all over the road.
Yeah, it is a fabulous moment. God.
He keeps on looking over to Neil to see if he's joining in, but Neil's just dead
asleep. Right, he's just dead asleep. How do you sleep through that? It was so bad. I love it. Yeah, there is one thing I do want to talk about before we leave off with Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and that is there's a remake in the works, apparently.
What?
With Will Smith and Kevin Hart. Thoughts?
I mean, why fix it if it's not broke? That's my initial thought. But I have grown to like Kevin Hart's stuff. I almost said Kevin Smith. That's completely different. I do like his stuff too. But anyways, I have grown to like his stuff. But it's been a long time since I've seen Will Smith in a comedy that I enjoyed. I feel like he might have similar problem as like when Eddie Murphy went to do dramatic films and then came back to comedy. He had a horrible time trying to get back in the swing of comedy, because comedy is just it's so much harder.
Agreed.
And this is coming from what I heard in an interview that I watched at one point with Eddie Murphy, and it never was quite the same. He was funny again, I would say. There was definitely later movies that I enjoyed that were funny.
Well, I feel like a lot of his problem too is that he tried to jump right back into family movies,
right?
But like family movies geared towards kids.
Yeah,
like the Haunted Mansion movie.
That was not very good.
But I mean, like, again, that's also with Will Smith. Like here, it is kind of a family movie again. Like, I don't know, it's not going to be aimed towards children. I would assume it'd probably be more adult. But
this movie, I would say, is more for the adults, but kids could definitely get a laugh out of it.
Yeah, easily. I don't know if they would find it as enjoyable nowadays. I don't know. Right. Kids nowadays are much different than how we were back in the 90s.
That's true. That is true. I will give it one thing, is that there is not a lot of diversity in this film.
No.
At all.
There's not even there's one or two female roles, and that's about it.
Yeah. And one of them is they're credited as car rental agent. That's Eddie McClurg, which she's really funny. Kind of reminds me of Madeline Kahn.
And I hated how Steve Martin treated her.
Oh my!
I've been in his situation before.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I mean, okay, I haven't been in his specific situation. I haven't been as, constantly, harassed at every single angle to get to one goal, for as long as he did. But I've had that moment where, it's like, you've had a day where everything's not going your way, and then you're forced to like walk an hour or more somewhere,
right?
Just to get your goal accomplished. Because of somebody else's
error, too.
Yeah, exactly. And when I got to the place where I wanted to go, I was tired, but I was not mean.
No,
and he was brutal to her.
Worst. I
was so pissed.
Honestly can't recall another movie where I've heard so many fuckings in one sentence. And honestly, it's the most cursing I've heard from Steve Martin in a movie too. I feel like, which this movie is rated R. I don't know that it really needs that rating. I mean, I feel like
I don't think so, but I guess that's probably wise because he cussed a lot.
Yeah, he cussed a lot in that one particular scene.
But no, I do think that that's the one thing I have against this movie. For me, is that even though I really love Steve Martin and John Candy, I think they do great performances here. Both characters, even though I love them, I hate. At the same time, they have so many qualities that I'm just like, again, they're qualities I personally see in myself that I don't like, that irritate me in them. I don't know how they treat others like that. It's just.
I don't think either of us would take our shoes and socks off on an airplane, though.
No, I wouldn't.
I would not do that. Maybe my shoes.
I know the smells of my feet.
Yeah, I mean, maybe my shoes, and maybe if like I came straight from home to the airport, I know I haven't been sweating in my shoes, and it's like a long flight, I could see myself taking my shoes off, but I'm not gonna take off my socks. That's awful. That's the worst.
No.
Damn.
I would probably take off my shoes, but I would keep them down, keep my feet down by the floor, and I would try to do it in a way that nobody could see that I took my shoes off.
I'm so tall, I don't really have room to put my feet up anyways in an airplane, so.
First class, man. Come on.
First class. Jeez, yeah, I mean, Neil so definitely is that guy who's asking for the manager and shit like that. But like I said, I feel like they both, at the end, they balance each other out, and together they make one really great person.
I think that's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah, I think so too.
In a nutshell.
I introduced you. You want to say what your closing statement?
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I would give it a 3 out of 4 stars. It is enjoyable. Again, family could watch it. There's a lot of swears, but who cares anymore?
Right.
But it's enjoyable to watch these two go on this crazy odyssey. All the mayhem that they go through, which is, some of it is predictable in a very fun way.
Right. Some
of it just comes out of the blue and you kind of feel bad for them, but at the same time, like, you're laughing so hard.
Right.
But that's my thoughts on Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Anyhow, what I thought about this movie, I think it's pretty obvious that I like this movie. I've watched it on several occasions. I only think that it's gotten funnier as I've become an adult, and I would say I give it a full face out of my
full face.
Yeah, out of my rating system, which you can get no face, half a face, and full face.
I like it.
Yeah.
Some out of 4 stars in your faces.
Yep. It's got a full face.
And now you got a meaning to the Faceless Leon.
Yeah, there you go.
I like it. Yeah. You're building a backstory, which is more than we can say about one movie that we're going to talk about soon. But before we talk about that, we should talk about Home for the Holidays.
Tell me about it.
Directed by Jodie Foster of Silence of the Lambs. And written by W.D. Richter of Big Trouble in Little China. Right? Where'd it come from? The script is actually delivered to Jodie Foster from somebody, I can't remember, some producer, but it had a note on it that said, "This is a total mess and I love it." And like this, it really does describe this whole movie. It's a total mess and I love it. But it stars Holly Hunter as, what's her name? Claudia. No. It is Claudia.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Claudia Larson.
Yeah, Claudia Larson. She returns home to Baltimore to be with her folks and her family for the Thanksgiving holiday. And her family is batshit crazy, basically.
They are.
In a loving way.
They're like in the way that everyone's family is batshit crazy.
Yeah, they do perfectly sum up the like normal dysfunctional family.
Right.
Which includes mother Adele, who is played by Anne Bancroft.
Yep.
who is Mrs. Robinson from The Graduate.
Right. And she's great in both roles, I'd say.
Oh, she's lovely here, I think.
Yeah.
Like she plays the smoking older generation, who's just like constantly trying to correct everybody else, worried about everyone else's opinions of the family, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, she's just lovely here. But the father is, what's his name? Charles Durning.
Yeah, and he's amazing in this. I love it. The dad.
Yeah.
In this movie.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite characters, definitely. Yeah. My favorite character is the gay brother Tommy.
Yep.
Played amazingly by Robert Downey Jr.
It is a good
very young. Yeah, very young Robert Downey Jr. He describes it as the most relaxed performance in cinema history, for reasons we'll get into later. But it's just a dysfunctional family, you know. It's during the 90s. Homosexuality is, not as socially acceptable in the 90s. Holly Hunter's character has no issues with her brother's homosexuality. Other members of her family have big issues with it, right, including their sister.
She's just the worst. Joanne. Played by Cynthia Stevenson. I mean, you're designed to hate Joanne, so I guess Cynthia did a great job.
Mm-hmm. You're designed to hate her and at the same time also be like, yep, that's like a family member I know.
Yeah.
The last main character to talk about is Dylan McDermott, Leo Fish, who becomes Holly's love interest. Right. But for the first part of the film,
there's a long road.
For the first half of the movie, she thinks that he's taken over as Tommy's.
That might be spoilers, but
that's fair. But it's a dysfunctional family that comes together, and their chaotic Thanksgiving day and their even more chaotic Thanksgiving dinner.
Right. Jeez.
And just that whole mayhem that perfectly captures, a typical family Thanksgiving, but also at the same time over exaggerates the typical family Thanksgiving. But I love it. I love this movie. Huge bias going into this threesome because, again, this is a family tradition for my, for the Green Traveler family. We constantly watch this every single year. It never goes old for me at all. Like, I love it every time I watch it.
Every time I've watched it, I've found something to like more about it. And the first time I watched it, I think, was with you a couple years back. Probably around Thanksgiving time. Anyhow, the first time I watched it, I honestly wasn't sure how I felt about it. I don't know why I had any negative. Maybe because it reminded me too much of shit that actually happens in like family events.
It might
for that
also
reason, it's very real.
It might also be because it's just a low budget 90s movie. Like, it has that straight to VHS feel.
Oh, you think so?
And its quality. Well, I mean, that typically makes you kind of have a little bit more of a connect, like a nostalgia feel to it, because it's for me, there's definitely a lot of nostalgia to this movie, but there is a made for VHS kind of feel to it that I feel like might not connect to new viewers.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it would be kind of hard to convince someone to sit down and watch this this movie with me, but which is a shame because I feel like at the end of it they will realize that it is a good, well constructed film. Like you said, it's definitely older, it's dated. I mean, there's still families obviously that struggle with the issue of having children that are living lives that they don't quite approve of, for sure.
I would say it's dated in quality, but not dated in story.
Yeah, I'll say that. And but there's also obviously elements in it, like the her talking on the corded phone in the bathroom. That wouldn't happen anymore. She'd have her cell phone.
Yeah, but she would still run to hide away from her family.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
so talking about running away and hiding from your family. That secret pantry, man.
Oh, yeah, I want that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I've always wanted that. Yeah, it's one of the best parts.
That wallpaper is awful, though. It's just the worst.
Yeah, Anne Bancroft, the mother's, their home has a wall in the kitchen that is almost seamless.
Yeah.
You can't even tell there's a door there. But, like, you just open it up and there's just this huge pantry with, like, tables.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's where she sneaks away, smoke a cigarette. Not that she really sneaks her cigarettes.
No.
At all.
It's got so many memorable scenes. You know, there's a lot of things from this movie that I just quote. Like, there's a moment with Robert Downey Jr. in the car where he just pisses Holly Hunter off to the point where she storms out of the car. Yeah. And he's just like, that was so wrong. It feels wrong. You know, it's just like, I do that a lot when I say something that I know is bad and like the person like storms off. I'm just like, ooh.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. definitely is hilarious and a grand element of chaos in this film. Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah, I do too.
But at the same time, yeah, it's important to say Robert Downey Jr. has a well-known history of addiction. Yeah. He went to jail for it because of heroin and cocaine. And this is one of those movies where he was using while he was working. Right. And Holly Hunter, the director, or not Holly Hunter, Jodie Foster, the director, was pretty, frustrated about it. But she, as she told him many times, you're just going to get away with it, so there's nothing I can do but just make the damn movie. Because they would do takes, but he wouldn't. He improvised a lot of his takes basically. Like I think he was on script, right? But there was very little directorial feedback because he just wouldn't take any. He wasn't listening. He would do a take and he was like, "That was great, wasn't it? Let's move on to the next one." And she couldn't do anything about it. Just he was too famous in the industry. Right. Next year, 1 year later after this movie is released, he's put in prison for it. I don't know too much about the story, so I don't want to go too further into it. I don't want to spread false details.
Yeah. Well, right. Yeah. And he is very obviously tries to avoid it in interviews and stuff like that. Rightfully so. I mean, he probably doesn't like to be reminded of this time. So I guess it'd probably be good that that's all we say on it. Yeah. Because I
don't want to focus on it too much because despite him being on throughout this movie, the performance is still amazing.
It's still amazing,
and it adds a lot to this movie that I think, like, without his character, I feel like this movie probably would be easily forgotten.
Right. But I agree. I think his character is definitely a great driving force for everything.
It's the reason I come back every year.
Yeah. I will say, like, it definitely. I mean, it wasn't because he was using that his performance was on, because obviously he's had amazing performances since then. He's just a very talented person, and I'm glad that he did get clean and give those great performances to us that he has.
Agreed. To go further off that, Robert Downey Jr. once played Charlie Chaplin. Right. And Charlie Chaplin's daughter, what's her name? Geraldine Chaplin, plays Aunt Gladdy.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't remember when he played Charlie Chaplin, so maybe that was after this.
I think it was after this. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was a little bit older. But yeah, Aunt Gladdy is great.
She's beautiful.
I love Aunt
Gladdy. It's another memorable scene is She wears a necklace around her neck that she designed herself, and Robert Downey Jr.'s character Tommy is just like, "Aunt Gladdy, it's a beautiful necklace. Did you make that yourself?" And she's like, "Oh yeah." And she holds it up, and she's like, "Fruit Loops." And it cuts back to Robert Downey Jr. He can't say anything. He's so shocked.
Yeah, Gladdy is that really just describes her to a T. She is Fruit Loops. She also has a big old crush on the dad. Which is great.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I really, though. I mean, he's older. He's a bit overweight, but he's such a personality. I love how he just takes the time to rush into a room, grab his wife, and start dancing with her.
Yeah,
it is awesome. He's definitely a model to live up to, I would say.
Yeah, he's just a beautiful, just living his best life.
Right.
But
he's driving Adele nuts.
And to that extent, his son Tommy is also just living his best life. And
that's right.
For me, that's one of the best parts about this movie is that conflict with his homosexuality, because their sister Joanne, she finds it an embarrassment. She's talking about how people that she knows, she knows people out, where's he at? California?
Boston,
like,
I think.
We know, okay, yeah. It's like, we know people in Boston. It's like, how dare you, you had a public wedding on a public beach. And it's, she's embarrassed by it.
Right.
But Claudia doesn't mind at all. Like, she's like us.
Yeah, it's love is love.
Love is love.
That is the Green and Faceless motto.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of this movie, comes in the parents' reaction too.
Right.
Because I don't know so much about the mom.
Right.
But the father definitely, he's not upset about his son getting married to another man. He actually was kind of upset that he wasn't invited.
Right, they didn't get told about it. Yeah.
He's just like, why am I always the last one to find out about these things? And then later when his new son-in-law calls, he's just like, why'd you marry this man? It's like, he deserves so much better.
That's good. Like I said, Charles Durnin's character is my favorite in the film, just because of obviously the social norms have changed a lot since he was growing up and raising his family, and he's very accepting, as he's more accepting than you can expect someone to be,
especially in the 90s.
Is great. Yeah, especially in the 90s. Like, he was a little concerned that his son was wearing a dress at his wedding, but that's about it, though. I mean, and Adele, and more so Joanne, have what I feel was like the more stereotypical opinion in the 90s of the situation. So for that reason, it is a great window into people's opinion on homosexuality at the time. Yeah. So as a historical marker, I think it works pretty well. One thing I wanted to say about Holly Hunter was that when I started watching it this time, I kind of forgot who played her, and when I was watching it, I was like, God damn, who is she? I mean, she's so familiar. And I'm like, it's not like a super young Jennifer Aniston, and it's not Jodie Foster. And then I had to look it up. So sorry, Holly Hunter, I forgot about you. But it's Holly Hunter, and I think that she is like a perfect mix between the two of them. She sounds and kind of acts like Jodie Foster, which is probably why she got casted. But she kind of looks like Jennifer Aniston.
Sure.
You don't agree?
I can't back that up. I don't. I've never compared the two, so I don't. Anyways, I can't picture it in my head, but I won't disagree with you there.
I just, that's just something I wanted to point out.
I do love her in this movie.
Yeah, she does great. I mean, really, everybody has a pretty good performance.
Oh yeah, like even Joanne and her husband do a great job. But the things with like Holly Hunter that I love about, especially just about her character is, she has the parental model that, I agree with, which is, your kids are going to figure stuff out themselves.
Right.
Guide them, but don't, tell them. And her daughter basically tells
the beginning of the
Claudia,
movie,
Yeah, at the very beginning of the movie, she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna have sex with my boyfriend this weekend," and she's only like 16 or 17, in the
Yeah,
and Claudia's just like, okay, she's just like, she's not okay with it, but at the same time, she's like, I'm not gonna, my daughter came to me with this information. I'm gonna be receptive and honest about it, and caution her, but not stop her. And,
yeah, the way it kind of seemed to me is like they had that stereotypical talk about sex, but which is different for every family. It's totally different for every family. And her mom, a single mom too, and she had the kid when she was young as well. Because I think she's only like 32 or something, which would make her 16 when she had Kit. And anyways, played
by Claire Danes.
Yeah, I think
of Terminator 3.
Oh my god. I've never seen past T2. I haven't.
What?
I haven't.
You haven't seen the god awful garbage that is T3?
I have not.
Judgment Day?
I have not. Judgment Day is T2.
Wait, no, sorry. T3 is what is T3?
I don't know.
It might not have a name. No. But you haven't even seen Salvation or like Genesis?
No, I haven't seen any of them. Like there was like, I think we almost went to go see Genesis because of Matt Smith, and then something came up with me and I wasn't able to go or something.
Yeah, he didn't help it much.
He didn't help it much.
No.
Anyhow, I was talking
Dark
about
Fate, man.
I know I was talking about Holly Hunter. Oh, the talk, the birds and the bees. I'm sure that she was given the talk, and she said something along the lines, "Now, when you consider having sex, please don't be afraid to come to me and tell me." Mm-hmm. And that's just what Kit does. But still, as in stereotypical fashion too, Claudia doesn't know what to do with that. She has no idea.
But instead of just like completely freaking out, she's just like, okay, I'm just gonna stress about this on the flight.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stress about it all weekend. Yeah.
And what a weekend it is. It's a fun, enjoyable, fabulous ride.
Wow.
That again I've come back to a lot. And I even like the romantic almost sub story between her and Dylan McDermott. Mm-hmm. I mean, it becomes it becomes the central focus in the third act, but like up until then, it's kind of just more about the family antics.
So I feel like we could do closing statements unless you have more to say.
No, I think I'm talked out.
Okay,
go for it.
I say this is definitely a well worth movie. Give it a full face. Nice. Guess in closing about it is like you feel good at the end of this movie, even though some horrible things happen to these characters during the movie.
It's bittersweet.
It is bittersweet, and I think that the ending collage of the moments, the home video moments, is a little cheesy, but it still leaves you with this heartwarming feeling.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm gonna say about the movie. Like it is not a cheesy movie, but it has a cheesy ending.
That definitely it does. My thoughts, I give it 3 out of 4 stars, same as Planet Trains and Automobiles. Beautiful cast, everybody's working well together. They only had 2 weeks of rehearsal and shot it over 10 weeks. Wow. So just a few, about maybe 10 days less than Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. But even with just 2 weeks of rehearsal, they all have great chemistry.
Right, yeah.
They all, they all function really well as a dysfunctional family. As you said, it's bittersweet. You get to the end, and Holly Hunter says to her sister, "We don't have to like each other. We're family."
Yep.
And it's true, 100%. There's gonna be people in your family that you just do not get along with, but they're family and they're there to stay.
Well, let's talk about our new movie, Krisha. So this movie, very similar themes, I would say, as in Home for the Holidays, except for addiction's more in the forefront. I guess addiction's not really a theme in Home for the Holidays.
It just occurred addiction occurred in the background.
That's right. That's true.
This movie puts it front and center.
Is front and center. It does take a while for that to get revealed, but it is in the description of the movie. While. Yes, yeah. But I think, all right, we'll talk about what I think about the movie after. I will tell you about this movie.
Summarize.
Aunt Krisha comes home for the holidays, and it has been years. I think 10 years since she has been a frequent part of the family. And she comes, and there's some kind of incident where she chopped off the tip of her finger before the movie started.
Yep.
So, and she has decided, even though she is the I would say the most guest out of all the guests, if that makes sense, just because she hasn't been there. And
she's the VIP for the day.
She's the VIP, and the VIP is going to cook the turkey, I guess. There's
a lot of faith put in the VIP.
A lot of faith put into her for just coming back. I mean, maybe she offered, and maybe it was something that she used to do when she was there. None of that is really talked about, but this movie is all about the tension of having all those people around you. And I do think it captures that pretty well.
Yes.
The tension.
Agreed wholeheartedly.
And eventually she gets too tense and she relapses.
And it too, just like with Home for the Holidays, captures that dysfunctional family.
Right.
You have the crazy older male figure.
Yeah.
Who's talking
Doyle.
absurd things. Yeah. Talking just the most absurd things about he's talking about how he hates the dogs that he lives with, and he's being a little over sexual at times.
He
just the weirdest of conversations from this man.
Yeah, he was cracking me up though. Bill Weiss is the actor who plays Doyle, and like you said, he says some of the wildest shit, and it's just like his phrasing too, and like I really can't tell how much of this movie is scripted. Because it really kind of feels like a lot of the scenes are improvised.
And for me, I thought that was a negative quality.
Yeah,
just because of how it's edited. Because, he cuts that. There's a scene with Doyle and Krisha that is, I don't know the specific runtime, but it's about maybe I would say 8 to 10 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cut up into 4 different chunks.
Yeah. And
separated with slow montage-like
tension building scenes, and stuff.
Yeah. And again, it does capture that tension well, and it does definitely elongate that that tense feeling. It sets it up kind of like a horror movie, like a slow burn horror.
Yeah.
Which I guess it kind of is, but it's billed as a comedy drama. Which there were moments where I laughed, but
there's
just
moments
because
I laughed, but
times,
it's not a comedy. This is definitely a tragedy, I would say.
But during that scene, because it felt like it was improvised, because of that, that feeling for all of the dialogue, it felt like the most unrealistic conversation you would ever have with somebody.
It had some twists and turns. Yeah.
Yeah, they bounced with some of the weirdest topics. Like, they're having a normal conversation about, oh man, aren't dogs silly? We hate them. And then he's, being very sexual in the next one, which was just, a really far out of left field tactic from what he was talking about. And then he was being mean to her in the next one about some other topic. Then I was just what are you guys discussing that's leading you here to these topics?
Right. I didn't know if it was supposed to be several cigarette breaks, because they're smoking while this is happening.
Well, I had the opinion that she might, because she's addicted, she might be just interpreting each just one scene different ways.
Right. That could be.
So maybe only one of those instances actually occurred, and it's up to the audience to figure out which.
Right. Because he does bring up the dogs in each scene of the scene.
Yeah. And there's a moment later on too where they show a scene one way and then they show it another way, with a different where her and her sister are having a conversation at the end, and they show it with an attention from her sister and one way,
right,
and then later she has a completely different tone when they replay that scene.
Wow.
She's angrier or whatever. So it's like when they showed that, I'm like, okay, maybe there were moments in this movie that didn't actually happen. They were just different ways to interpret the same scene.
Right. Which I honestly did not look at it that way, but I think that that's a good way to look at it. The way I was watching it is that that these things were actually said and happening because she's at the moment, in that moment, she is sober. But since it is kind of cut with her doing different things, maybe it is her thinking about it while she's preparing, like you said. But the reason why I read it that way is because I honestly, I know people who are like Bill Weiss's character, Doyle, where they could be fun and jovial 1 minute and then they're talking about their problems and then they get up in your face.
I mean, I know people like that too. It's just how he cut it made it seem very unrealistic. Okay. Because it just kind of bounced in rapidly between weird conversations. I'm just like, how did you get here from there? Huh. Like, just show me that connection. Right. Show me that thread that that connects this conversation.
You think it could have benefited from being one long conversation with the segues in there? I think I can agree with that. And I'm going to give a lot of credit to Trey Edward Schultz though, because this is his directorial debut, and for that alone, I think it's a very solid low budget movie. Yeah, low budget.
$30,000 shot in like 10 days.
Right, and most of the cast are his friends and family, including Krisha, who is actually his aunt, and his mother is in the film too, playing his mother. Which, given that I think the performances were pretty good too. So, there's definitely some scenes with Robin that I thought. His mom, that I was like, okay.
Yeah. I thought the performance from Krisha was really good.
Yes.
I think everybody else was okay.
Right.
I'm with you. I do agree. I give a lot of props to Trey Edward Schultz. I know I'm sounding like I'm very negative on this movie, and I am, but I'm negative in a constructive way. I want to be, at least. Yeah. Because this is, for a low budget film, this is a great example of a strong low budget movie.
Yeah, what you could
do.
The
cinematography is beautiful. As you said, he does a great job at building the tension.
Oh my god.
Even though I'm complaining. Tense. Yeah, even though I'm complaining about the edits, it does build that tension. Cutting up that scene with all those segues, it definitely elongated her, her reaction to what was going on and how it was weighing on her. And with each cut back to her, you got a little more drained, just as she did, by the social aspect of everything. And I respect it wanting to be a fly on the wall kind of movie, because you do kind of just sit back and absorb the environment. You absorb everything around you. Like, there's moments where the camera is just circling around the room and you're watching everybody just having a good time.
Right.
And nothing else is occurring at all.
No, nothing. You're right. I think like the noise is really the element that you're supposed to pick up from those shots, is because it is really getting to Krisha.
It's chaotic and it's
just
hectic. It's a hectic
She's been living with, she's been trying to live her life as stably as possible. And that's why she got away.
And it's too much for her. And again, as I said, I do respect Trey Edward Schultz, because the story here that he's trying to tell is important.
Yeah.
It's addiction is an important thing to look at. But my problem with it, I'm sorry, if you have somebody who's fighting addiction and who has this crazy weird backstory that this movie 100% does not want to talk about.
Yeah.
At all. Yeah. When you have such a weird backstory that caused a lot of issues, because Trey Edward Schultz's character is very emotionally disturbed by Krisha.
Yeah.
Why do you give her so much responsibility on the day that's going to mean the most to her?
I don't get it. I don't
I don't care if she was very adamant about making the turkey. You say no. You don't put that much responsibility on somebody. She's coming back to the family.
Right.
You welcome her back. You sit her in a corner.
Have her make a dish. If she wants to contribute, she can contribute to the meal.
She can bring the green bean casserole.
Yeah, exactly. Like she did. I mean, I had the feeling that she flew in. I don't know.
But she could still make the green bean casserole.
Exactly. She could make it there. That's simple. It was definitely a lot of responsibility for somebody who has not been in your life for a long time, and when they were in your life, they were extremely chaotic and just a mess.
Yeah. And they even mentioned that the only knowledge that her sister had of Krisha was Krisha's word saying that she was doing better.
Right.
That she had taken a class. That was it. Like she hadn't like scoped it out. She hadn't like gone out to dinner with her sister. She hadn't like slowly eased her back into family life.
Right.
She just tossed her to the wind at this giant family gathering.
Yeah, don't do it just like at Thanksgiving, guys. Don't.
Yeah, so it's like either bad story, not bad story, bad like plot hole kind of area, or just a really shit family.
Well, like, I mean, not everybody is as conscious as we might be as what goes on in an addict's mind. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have several addicts in my family. Most of them doing very well now. And so I understand that they got to take things slow. Like, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, you don't throw so much on them on their plate like that.
No.
But like, and even if you're not conscious of it, the fact that you have this weird backstory that we don't want to talk about at all,
right,
should make you somewhat conscious of it.
Right.
And that's the other thing I want to talk about is, why do we not get the backstory? I'm okay with a movie not having to tell a backstory. I'm okay with it not wanting to do that. But he's filming this like we're the fly on the wall.
Right.
And if you're the fly on the wall, you know what's going on in this situation. You're supposed to be one of the family members here at this dinner.
Right.
And everybody else in this family knows what the fuck happened. Why don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of get that too. But there's like, same with the fly on the wall thing, though. If you truly are, like, physically a fly, you don't live long enough to know all the backstory.
Well, I meant like, I mean, like, we're supposed to be like one of the cousins in this movie.
Right.
You know, the cousins are just watching football and absorbing the environment just like Krisha is.
Right.
We're just watching all of this unfold. Everybody else in this family knows what's going on.
Right.
Why don't the viewers just tell us? I gotta be honest, I just don't know any of the characters.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters. And I feel like
just a plethora.
Yes, there's a plethora, which makes it feel more like a large family gathering. But it also adds to the tension. But they don't go in and focus on any of the characters.
No, they're all just there. And it's fine. I do respect this movie for what it accomplished on a budget. Right. Trey Edward Schultz, by all means, I'm excited to see you make a bigger budget movie.
Me too.
You got talent.
Me too.
The cinematography looks great. You're directing. I don't agree with a lot of the acting, but I don't know if you were working with actors. It doesn't seem like you were working with professional actors.
From what I read, most of them were family and friends. Which is a great way to do a budget movie.
Yeah. It's like, again, it's like, I don't know which members of your family, of Trey's family and friends were actors, but they did a good job. Yeah, you pulled decent performances from everybody, especially Krisha.
Oh yeah, Krisha is amazing. I think. I know that Bill Weiss.
I'm talking to him directly.
Is a professional actor. What's that?
I said I feel like I'm talking to Trey directly, like he's gonna listen to this.
Hey, maybe he will. He'll see somebody reviewed his movie and he'll watch it. Hi, Trey.
Hi, Trey. Sorry.
I hope he does. I mean, I did there's a lot that I enjoyed about this movie. I don't know if that's quite the right word. There's a lot that I appreciate about this movie because
exactly,
you're not really supposed to have a lot of enjoyment. Like I said, it's a tragedy. It really is.
But that's the other thing I wanted to talk about is this is available on Netflix and it's billed as a comedy drama. And so I didn't watch the trailer to this. You saw it. You were like, hey, let's watch this for the.
It had a high.
I was like, yeah, it sounds good.
High Rotten Tomatoes rating, and it was about Thanksgiving. And I was like, you know what? Let's add something new to these two that we know are classic.
And I looked it up, and it said comedy drama, and I was like, yeah, that sounds kind of like Home for the Holidays, but like a comedy drama. I mean, Home for the Holidays has very little drama, a lot of comedy. Well, it has a lot of drama, but drama told in a comedic fashion.
Right.
This is just a tragedy.
Yeah.
With a few funny lines.
Yeah, exactly.
And just because you laugh.
Yeah.
Just because you laugh a few times a movie does not make it
does
a comedy.
Not make it a comedy. Hell no, it does not. I mean, if you are a fan of Shakespeare and you go to a Shakespearean tragedy, there's a thing called comedic relief.
Yeah.
It needs to have a few laughs in it to accentuate the tragic moments.
And for the life of me, I was trying to find the comedic relief in this movie, and I think it was supposed to be Bill Wise. But after the first, the first conversation with him and Krisha, I'm like, yeah, he is kind of funny.
Right.
And in the second conversation, I'm like, wow, I really hate this guy. And the third conversation, I'm like, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
And in the next conversation, I'm like, fuck this guy. Fuck all of them.
Right.
I just slowly grew to hate everybody in this.
I'd never really felt that way about Robin, though. Robin really seems to care about her sister.
But she's the one who tossed it all on her sister.
She did. She did. She
yeah,
put too much pressure on her. Too much pressure.
And then when she's yelling at her at the end, it's like spoilers. Yeah. When she's yelling at her at the end, she's just like, she's blaming everything on Krisha. I'm like, you're the one who gave her all of this responsibility today.
Right. Yeah.
Don't yell at her.
Right. I agree. But family does that though at the same time. Yeah, I know. So I think it is
that realistically.
Yes. That's what I was gonna say. His grandma is another character I can't really be mad at.
Yeah, that's true. She is just an adorable.
Yeah.
Adorable lady.
She is actually his grandma, which is kind of.
I'm hoping she wasn't extorted for this film. I'm hoping she's cognitively aware of what she did.
Yeah. She does not. The character does not quite seem fully cognitive. So I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I think it's nice that he wanted to honor his grandmother by including her. But like you said, you hope she's not extorted. You get to a point sometimes with your mind, and I don't know his family, so we could just be talking out of our ass. You get to a certain point, if your family member is like, hey grandma, come and be in this movie with me, and then you bring in your aunt and you say all these terrible things about your aunt, they might believe those terrible things. They're like,
well, even when she's talking to a baby at one scene, she's like, oh, this baby's so cute, it looks like so and so, and I'm like, there's no script here, they're just filming her.
Yeah,
she's just looking at a baby and she's like, oh, look at this, so cute. And she's like, Trey's like, get the camera.
So that's another thing that I actually did. I think you were kind of saying that you thought it kind of pulled away from the movie a little bit, but something I appreciated about the movie was that it kind of felt like a family member was filming what was going on, because there are several mentions between Krisha and Trey that she wants him to be a filmmaker because he used to love messing around with the tape recorder. And
which makes me wonder how much of this movie is autobiographical.
Right. Yes.
And if there is a good portion of it, why would you want to film it? I'm sorry, Trey.
I know. Yeah, that's what I am curious about too. But I looked it up and it doesn't seem like, it doesn't really seem like that. But he kept everyone's names the same.
Right? That's like, especially you bring all of your family and friends in, it's just like you're just telling the world, it's like, yeah, this is how we are. And I wanted the world to know this. Like,
right,
we are
yeah.
crazy.
So, like, I was watching this movie at the beginning thinking it was autobiographical. And I was like, okay, so at some point they reconcile, because otherwise they wouldn't have made a movie about it. But there is, like, the one thing I really don't like about the movie is there's not really a resolution. Like, not even at all.
It is a tragedy. Just with no falling action.
Yeah. Like, I think even, like, I feel like 2 endings that I would have tacked onto this movie, and it's not my movie, so I can't tell them to go and do this, but I would either have had Krisha, I would either have had Krisha go and do even more to the point where she OD'd, or, you know, intentionally kill herself, or have her leave. Like, I don't even think they showed her leaving in the end. It just kind of ends. And
I think she just goes back upstairs.
Yeah. And it ends at the tensest moment of the movie. Yeah. Which is, and I gotta say, very unusual.
Yeah, it like goes to black, I think, or maybe it went to white. I can't remember. To white.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah. And when it did, I was like, "Oh, please let the credits roll now. Like, I can't take any more."
Yeah, it was definitely had that feeling,
and not in a terrible, like, this is garbage and I want to go away from it. It had it in a tense that was too dramatic for me.
Right,
I want to back down and calm down.
Right.
Which is good, you know, as a filmmaker. Again, for Edward Schultz, that was. The ending was well accomplished.
Right. You want to elicit emotion, and he definitely did that.
Yeah, this movie felt like one of those, as I said, a slow burn horror movie.
Right.
But for a family drama. You know, it's very slowly builds tension throughout, and then you have that crazy fast, very tense third act that abruptly ends. You know, it's and in that regard, you know, it's well filmed. Yeah. But I'm never coming back to this.
Yeah, I don't think I could go through it again myself, and I would have a hard time recommending it to people too. Yeah. I'm sure I have friends who are into tragedy as I am, and I might say, "Hey, you should check out Krisha." But yeah, it is definitely a mouthful, I guess. I've never used that expression before. Yes. Yeah. There was one thing I wanted to mention before we wrapped up, which I think we're getting to, was when she does finally come down the stairs after drinking like a whole bottle of wine, and that shot where he makes it widescreen and it's very cinematic. And she's in that red dress, and that shot was awesome. I was like, like she was floating on air, and I'm like, man, I 100% understand where he's going with this, and that was great.
Yeah, I feel like he definitely did a great job at capturing the movie through her emotions.
Right.
You know, drunk's not an emotion, but when she's drunk, the camera feels drunk. The grabbing of the environment feels drunk.
It's almost more cinematic.
Yeah, when she's happy at the beginning, you know, the lighting is kind of yellow and happy, and you know, it definitely does a great job at capturing everything through her lens of, you know, how she's absorbing everything.
Right.
But closing statement, you know, I give it. I would give it 2 out of 4 stars. I wouldn't be harsher than that, because again, I do respect what he accomplished here.
Right.
As a filmmaker myself, you know, without a budget, I know it's very hard to make a good looking movie.
Right.
With even just $1,000, like $30,000, like that's still very low budget for what you got to accomplish, and he did a great job. Krisha Fairchild's acting is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, good directing for non-professional actors. You know, it should be a plus, but I just vibed wrong with this movie.
Yeah, and I don't think you're supposed to leave it feeling good, but there's definitely but I agree that there are some elements that could have made it stronger. Just a touch more resolution really would have been the main thing for me. But like you said, you were ready for it to be done, and I also agree with that. That I was ready for it to be done at that moment. But
I was ready to get back in the car and go home. So let's leave this Thanksgiving, our family reunion.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. If I was sitting at that table, I would definitely be done.
And I do the Irish goodbye. I just peace. I don't go around and say goodbye to everybody for 30 minutes. I'm out.
I definitely am of the Midwestern variety on that. Anyhow, I give this a half a face. I think an amazing first attempt by Trey Edward Schultz. I'm sorry, man. But I am excited to see what else he does, and I would love to see him work with his aunt more, because she really was great.
For real, keep filmmaking.
Yeah, definitely. I want to see more.
And I think most people, I feel like I was looking up brief reviews, and I feel like it is kind of how you either hit or miss with this movie. I've seen a lot of people who like it, and a lot of people like us who are just kind of miss.
Yeah,
it's not. They don't think it's bad. It's just a miss.
I don't think it's bad at all. It could be stronger. The emotion. I mean, he does have the emotion is there. I will say.
Yeah,
definitely. So, is that our show? Oh, no, we got to declare the winner. Oh my god.
Yeah, who wins the Gobble?
The
Gobble Trophy of the year. Yeah, I'll go first. Again, I had a huge bias going into this. I'd never seen Planes, Trains, and Automobile or Krisha, and I have seen Home for the Holidays probably around 20 times.
Jeez.
Yeah, I love this movie. And Planes, Trains, and Automobile gave it a run for its money. There's things about Home for the Holidays that have grown old with multiple rewatching, but it wins the Gobble Gobble Trophy from The Green Traveler.
All right.
Solely for the performances.
All right, so we come to the part of this show, where I have to decide between these two movies. I think giving my ratings alone, that Krisha's kind of out of the running, which I had high hopes for the movie, and it really didn't disappoint, I would say, for a debut movie. But between Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and Homes for the Holidays is really hard, because my bias leans towards Planes, Trains, and Automobiles personally.
Yeah.
But they're both very good movies. Both very good movies. And I think
you can
just
take a leg, I can take a breast.
I think I'm gonna go actually for Home for the Holidays, though. It because of what this episode is about. This episode is about Thanksgiving, and that movie encapsulates the feeling of being home for the holidays is all about.
Yeah.
So it gets the 2 Gobbler trophies.
Nice.
From both of us.
My mom will be so proud.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good one. It definitely
There was blackmail, people.
What?
I had death. She was giving me death threats. I had to win.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. You should have passed those along. I don't want you to get killed over our show.
No, yeah. I wanted you. I needed you to come to your own conclusion without that kind of a.
I see.
Threat.
You didn't want to put the pressure.
The threat of my life over your head.
I see. I appreciate.
But, yeah, it was there.
I appreciate not putting the pressure on me.
Yeah, you saved me. I appreciate it.
Good. I'm glad. But you could have made this decision easier. All right.
Well, gobble gobble, mother cluckers. I've been the Green Traveler,
and I've been the Faceless Leon. Gobble gobble. Lastly, before I say safe travels and peace, y'all. I do want to mention that tomorrow what most people call Black Friday, is also Native American Heritage Day. But I think it's important to note that while we traditionally look at this season this holiday as a time to be thankful, that we should also look at it as a time to think about our history as a country and think about what we can do to be better and to turn to our Native brothers and sisters and welcome them to the table as well. Well, that's been our show. Safe travels, everybody. Green and Faceless on the Couch is a proud production of FictionWorks 19. We plan to publish new episodes of this podcast every Thursday evening. If you'd like to give us a comment, please visit us at facebook.com/greenandfaceless. There you'll find many links to our show and to our website. Thanks for listening.